So look, there's my brother-in-law back there. Good morning and welcome to the Smart Health Breakout Session, where we will collectively develop nutrition and fitness goals to sustain long-term health. We're here for the long term, the short term. Because a lot of times, and I don't know if it's the same for men, but women, like say a special event is coming up and it's like, oh, I gotta lose 5 pounds to fit into this dress. But when you, and it's not about fitting into dresses and fitting into your clothes, but when you are doing this long term, this long journey, health journey, then you don't need to have these short bouts of let me get myself together. Because what they say, if you stay ready, you don't have to get ready. So this is about staying ready. And again, it's more than aesthetics, although it's okay to want to look good. Like there's a certain way that I want to look and I work towards that, but that's only one factor of it. It really is just being healthy, like living up to my fullest potential. And we'll talk about like a true partnership with our bodies, really honoring the body that I was blessed with, giving gratitude. And I'm moving along in my presentation. But that's what this is all about, is really coming up with goals, like feasible. Sometimes people have these large goals that they want to attain to, and the task can seem daunting. And we remove ourselves from the equation from the beginning, so we never get started. So it really is coming up with both fitness and nutrition goals that we can maintain long term. And it is, it's a journey, it's a marathon, it's not a sprint. So more about me. My name is Deborah Hinds, because I don't know if I said that before. My name is Deborah Hinds. I am a health advocate and practitioner. And this next line is important for all parents of children or people who have children in their lives that they serve as role models to. Following the example of my parents, who still to this day, and they're 73 years old. My mother, pre-pandemic, she had a membership to 2 different gyms. So I've been watching them. So it's important. You are an example. You're not only doing this for yourself, you are doing this for others in your life, especially the children, because I have been participating and actively engaged in my fitness journey for close to 2 decades, and this is consistently. Before the 20 years, here and there, I would do some things, but it is 18 years exactly that I have been consistent in this journey. And 7 of those years include being a certified group fitness instructor. During the pandemic, I held some virtual, and this was 3 years straight, I held a virtual kickboxing class. It was great. I thought it was great. Got a good workout, wonderful workout. So that's what I've been doing for 7 years and still trying to expand that. But also professionally, I have a graduate degree, a master's of public health with a concentration in quantitative methods. I'm a math girly, so epidemiology and biostatistics. And it all comes together. It's very comprehensive. Public health and fitness, nutrition. I felt like I wanted to put together a full package, about population health and tell people how to get to that point where you can maintain, you can reach your highest level of health and maintain it. So and then as a public health professional, my areas of expertise are family health and health equity. Health equity is a passion for mine. When I got into public health, that word wasn't around. I didn't know about it, but I knew that's what I wanted to do. I knew that my people, I knew the statistics of my people, that their outcomes were not the best. And I knew that it could be better. So that's why I got into it. And I always loved math and I always loved science. And at first I wanted to be a doctor, right? And it was when I attended this conference, this symposium for pre-med students, my senior year of undergrad. That's when I was introduced to epidemiology. And I said, whoa, it was public health. And I never had that fire lit in me when I was trying to be a doctor. And I think that was just like, because I wanted to be a pediatrician. It's like you're a kid, you go to your pediatrician, you may have some good experiences. And then for some reason, I think it's changing now, when you're not as dumb, then you have these options of being a doctor or a lawyer. But now we know it's more to that now. So I ran with that. But when I was introduced to public health, that's really what drove me. And then the fitness component, and this is where I am today. So this is That's me, and that's me there in Salt Lake City, Utah, going on a hike. And I am afraid of heights. I get on roller coasters, but I'm afraid of heights. And so when I was climbing up this mountain, my friends had to help me up because that was an experience, but I made it. And that's the story behind that picture. So first, before I share with you the objectives I created for this session, I want to know, why did you choose this particular session? What do you hope to gain? And in the interest of time, because we only have 1 hour, if anyone wants to speak, I'll take 2 folks, and we'll try to keep our comments within 1 minute. But you go ahead, go for it. And say your name.
My name is Sachin. Sachin means truth.
Yes.
Quick 30 seconds of why I'm here. I felt interested in the title of the topic, Smart Health, and the description of long-term wellness.
Mm-hmm.
2011, I couldn't walk for 2 years. I tore the tendons in the very base of my feet. So the doctor said I would walk one day but never run. I went on through healing after 3 years of unsuccessfully following conventional medicine. Not to say that there's not a place for it, I believe there is. But in my case, I needed to rise above what I was told was possible or not possible. So through self-study of topics that we may discuss today, I was able to go on to run 16 miles, rock climb, jump, sprint, do it all.
Right.
So I'm just here to continue the journey and to appreciate all that we shared today.
Yes, thank you, and thank you for sharing. Anyone else?
Yes, my name is Deke. I'm
Hey,
a
Deke.
competitive runner. I run right now. I run for Team USA in the Masters division.
Oh, wow.
I'm in the old group. But I still have 20. I have a goal of 24 more years to do this. And I'm a vegan, but I'm trying to take my my health to the optimum level, so the journey continues. So that's why I'm here to learn more. I'm a truth seeker, so anything else that can make me help my performance, I'm gonna use. So
Thank you for sharing your story. I'm also a runner. Do you do ultra marathons or something
no,
like?
I pretty much run 5,000 in cross country, maybe 10 Ks, but yeah.
Wow, that's great. I don't run that much. I've done a half marathon. The first Sunday of every month, I run 10 miles. That's the extent of my running, but it's nice to see another run.
Tomorrow.
Right. I did my 10 mile last Sunday. Okay. Anyone else? We can take one more.
I saw that you had about the SMART, and I like to be able to measure things.
Yes.
I consider myself to be a health nutritionist, and I've healed myself of my own ailments. I've also assisted with my mom, who has she's on dialysis, and I help reverse her kidney function.
Wow.
So I just really want to learn more about how other methods, more methods, and what really stuck out to me is being able to maintain that and being that comfortable in my own body, no matter what form or shape I'm in.
Right.
Over time.
Well, thank you, and you may be able to help me, so I may call on you. All right, so these are the objectives that I came up with, and hopefully it meets some of your goals for attending this. So hopefully by the end of this session, you will have gained a general understanding of the necessity of adopting healthy nutrition and fitness habits, because usually you're just told you have to be healthy. So eat healthy foods and exercise. And then identify the key components of a balanced nutrition and fitness regimen, including recommendations from sources like the American College of Sports Medicine. And then finally, the main event. We are going to work individually or together to create these fitness goals, and that's where the SMART comes into. And you mentioned the measuring, and that's a component of the SMART. So you want your goal to be specific. You don't want a general goal, say, I want to lose weight. Then you have nothing to measure, right? And then you want it to be attainable. You want something that's realistic. Because again, if you have this lofty goal, then you may get dissuaded very early on, and then you'll quit. And we don't want that. So we want something that's realistic, attainable, that's the relevant. You want something that makes sense for you. Is this something you really want to do? Or are you just following a trend, because social media is the thing, TikTok is a thing, and so it's these trends. But this is more, your health journey is greater than any trend. but you want to choose something, a goal that is relevant to your situation. And finally, time bound. We want to set a timeline for ourselves so we know what we're reaching to and when we have to do it. Even if you don't reach it, because we're going to talk about, it's 2 types of goals. We're going to have the overall outcome goal, like what I want to do. And I think more importantly, or equally as importantly, are the process goals. Those are the steps that will get you to that outcome goal. And you want to see, it's important to have the process goals because it's a plan. It's like, how am I going to get, say I want to lose 5 pounds or something in a year. I mean, you can lose more than 5 pounds in more than a year, but we're just picking that, right? But it's like, how will I get there? And then when you do that, if you say, I'm going to walk more, I'm going to walk at least 20 minutes a day, right? And if you can measure that and you see that happening, then that gives you confidence. Muda Baruka just talked about confidence. That was the line that really stuck to me. Like, with confidence, you already won. And if you don't have confidence, then you're twice defeated. So this is all about building confidence. So we just take it step by step, simplify it. We don't really need to make it complex because our bodies take control of most of the complexities. And we just want to do something, that's the attainable piece. That's the long-term piece, is when we take it step by step, piece by piece. And that's time bound. All right, so this is a grounding focus conference. So I want to kind of have a grounding moment, but more of a moment of reflection, because I don't think many people think about this. The true partnership, a partnership with you and your body, you may think it's separate, but you have your body, the physical being that's controlled by your brain. You have these stimuli, it takes in all these stimuli, the brain processes it, and then you have that you that takes that information and you make that choice. So those are the 2 partners. It's you, the decision maker, whatever that is. I still haven't been able to quantify that, but it's that person that decides, I'm going to eat more whole foods. And then you have the body that takes care of mostly everything for you. And I just want us to sit and really think about that and give gratitude, because your organs and organ systems, and we have a lot of them, we can list them off. Your nervous system, your circulatory system, your respiratory system, your endocrine system, reproductive, all of these systems, they understand the assignment every second. People talk about understanding the assignment. Your body, your organs, your organ system, appreciate that, because you're sitting right here, right now, breathing, because your body, your organs, organ systems are doing what they need to do. And that it handles all of the complex tasks of keeping you alive. And we want to do more than just be alive. We want to thrive, right? And so that's where we come into it. Not to minimize our role in this, but when you look at everything the body does, what we have to do is kind of small, is a small task. There are nutrients that the body doesn't produce. The body makes a lot. It handles a lot for us. I didn't even mention the immune system. We have our own Department of Defense that steps into play and protects us from all foreign particles. So appreciate that, have gratitude. Honor the body that brought you in today, that's sitting here right now. It is great. So it's about, are you honoring your role in this partnership? So my first question to you, and I think you have your notepads in your book, in your bags. You can take that out, because we're going to do a lot of writing. And I mentioned to you how my background is in epidemiology. So the girl loves data, and we're going to do our own data collection. So take out your books and write down this. Like, what? We have these 2 questions here. Currently, if you reflect, what is your current contribution to your partnership with your body? What is your current contribution? And also, what do you hope to achieve? If it isn't at the level that you want it to be, what do you hope to achieve? Where's my? I need some water. And also, you have this, you have that questionnaire right there. That's also a part of your data collection. You don't have to fill all of it out. You can take it home with you and fill it out then, or wherever. It's not like you're gonna get everything done now. And also pay no attention to the rather aggressive instruction. They're like, you have to fill all this out. You have to answer completely. No. I just got this from the internet, and I'm just asking you to go through this and honestly answer this. So it's really about the foods that you eat and how often you eat them. And it's really a baseline so you can see where you're at. You can celebrate your strengths, and then you can work on, develop solutions for your areas of improvement. And I want you to be honest. Like I'm not saying you guys are honest people, but if you're gonna be honest with anyone, first be honest with yourself, because you're not helping yourself if you're not fully honest. No one's grading, no one's judging. This is a judgment-free space. But this is how we start. This is the beginning of our data collection, and this will help guide. Our data will help inform the goals that we make, and also the answers to those 2 questions, and we'll have more questions. So, yes, what's the problem? Just go get some. Thank you, be blessed. All right, so then how do we become a good partner to our bodies? I mentioned this before. Our bodies make so much. You talk about like the genetic material, our cells. That's responsible for making many of the proteins that make you who you are and have your body function the way it is. But there are certain nutrients, certain substances that your body needs. So if your body's handling all this for you, like you don't want to sit there and handle the whole digestion process. I don't know how many of you are biologists or you study biology, but you know how digestion works, right? And metabolism, I mean, it's like photosynthesis really, but the reverse. But you wouldn't, like, how would you fare doing all that? You don't have to. All you have to do is care. Take care of your body through movement and give it its nutrients, the very few nutrients that it needs to perform at its optimal level. So this is a guide, and I think it's important to make it feasible and attainable. You want to adapt it to your current situation. You see these things, these are guidelines, but you want to take stock of where you are and what you can do, and you kind of modify and adapt it to fit your specific needs. I think that's where many people, I don't want to say fail, but they aren't as successful because they try and model 100% what someone else is doing. But you really have to have it fit your situation, and that will make you most successful. So these are the general guidelines. Macronutrients, how many of you guys know what macros are? You probably heard people say counting macros, like, I never did that because I don't have time for that. I say keep it simple. Our body handles all the complexities. And if you keep it simple, that makes you more successful. That's what I want you to take away, is to honor the partnership with your body, because your bodies do so much for you. Like, I feel like it's a disservice to the greatness of our bodies to not honor our part of it. And it's just feeding it its macronutrients, and it's macro because you need it in larger amounts, right? So that's your carbohydrate, that's your protein, and that's your fat. And I know people hear fat and they're like, oh, fat. Fat's very important. Fat insulates your organs, organ systems, it protects it, it's important for hormone production, and it's also important for brain transmission, for cell structure. We're all made up of cells, so we need fat. And they're important fats like omega-3s. You have your unsaturated fats. That's what you want more of. So that's when you see there for fat intakes 20 to 35%. So this is based on your caloric intake. Again, I never counted a calorie a day in my life. Who has time for that? But you can visually kind of see, like, hey, 20 to 35%, that's a significant portion of my diet, should be fats, but less than 10% of those fats are coming from saturated. It's saturated fats that actually leads to the development of cholesterol. And we know what happens with cholesterol. There are 2 types. There's the high density lipoproteins and the low density lipoproteins. You don't really need to know that, but you can know ADL, HDL, that's the good cholesterol, and LDL, which is the bad cholesterol. but it's the saturated fats that you get from like fatty meats, a lot of the red meats. I don't know if anyone's vegetarian, eat meat. It's no judgment, like eat what you eat, but try and make sure it's whole food. So you want to kind of stay away or reduce the amount of saturated fats you consume, because that leads to cholesterol. And a lot of people think it's dietary cholesterol, because I know some folks, they stray away from eating eggs. Eggs are actually rich in an abundance of micronutrients, which we'll get to next. But it's not really the dietary cholesterol. That's a major misconception, that dietary cholesterol leads to that at the hardening of your arteries. That's not it. That's when you consume too much saturated fats, and a lot of that is through meats, fatty meats consumption. So you want to limit that to less than 10%. But you have all these wonderful unsaturated fats. We don't need to get into the chemical structure of it, but if you have questions about it, again, I'm a scientist, so you can come ask me. But unsaturated fats like omega-3s, which you can get from oils, avocado oil, sunflower oil, all these wonderful oils that you can cook in, right? And you can get your omega-3s. If you eat fish, salmon, I do eat fish. I'm a pescatarian, right? I don't eat it often, but I try and get salmon at least twice a week. It's good for your brain. It's good for your blood pressure because it dilates your arteries, right? And it also decreases inflammation. Too much inflammation does damage to your body, your organs. And I think that is what plagues a lot of African Americans. It's heightened inflammation caused by heightened stress. Nobody talks about the stress. They like to focus on the choices that we make. And they say they put it on you, but it's more than that. Individual factors are actually at the very bottom. We have other factors that influences what we eat. But I think a lot of Black people live in a state of chronic stress. And chronic stress, when you have high levels of cortisol, that's the stress hormone, right? It's very important because it has important functions, but when it's heightened, it can lead to high blood pressure. That's what you see a high prevalence of in the Black community. Diabetes, all these things, and I think it is because many Black people live in a state of chronic stress, right? So that's another thing. I didn't put it in the slide, but we want to deal with our stress, try to attenuate, reduce the amount of stress that we have in our lives as much as we can, right? Certain things we stress over, like a lot of times we try to attain to this fictitious standard of living that society tells us to. So we stress ourselves out to our own detriment, for our own health. Yoga is a great way. We're going to talk about that in the fitness slide. Just meditation, mindfulness, just sitting there. And because once you're in yoga, and I still struggle with this, and I've been doing yoga consistently for like a year, I would be upset with myself because I couldn't calm my mind, right? But it's a practice. But sitting there, you can notice how much your mind is constantly going, right? And that cannot be good for us. So I really do encourage. You don't have to go to some fancy yoga studio. We all have our smartphones. We all have access to YouTube University. I mean, that's what I would go to sometimes for yoga. Make time. You are important. Your body deserves you to put in that extra effort to like have time to yourself. There's so much going on out there. So you just need time to calm down. It's a great way to reduce your stress. I'm going all over the place, right? But you're sticking with me. I'm moving along. You have a question?
Should we save questions to the end, or is it more active?
You can give me a question.
Maybe it's just some quick ones. Avocado, would that be saturated or unsaturated?
That's unsaturated. It's monounsaturated. Again, we can get into the science if you want, but that's unsaturated. That is a great food to eat. It has the omega-3s, and it also has vitamins, vitamin B6, which is good for building your tissue, right? So I used to be one of those people, because it was a hype around avocado, and they're charging $1,000 for a piece of avocado toast. I was like, it's not that great, folks. It's not like what you're hyping it up to be. I'll eat it now, it's okay, and I eat it mostly because of the nutritional benefit. But it took me a while to get on board because it was a hype thing.
Is
It's really not that great tasting. Like, you got to doctor it up for it to taste that good.
Nature's butter.
I know, it's wonderful, but it's not like what people were saying, oh my gosh, this is the best thing in the world. I'm going to pay $1,000 for a piece of toast. No, it's not that. Not that.
I've heard that our brain matter is primarily composed of cholesterol and different fatty tissues. Is that true?
It's not really fatty tissues. It's they call it gray matter. You have gray matter, white matter, and it includes some fat. I did mention fats are important for your brain, but it's like all these neuronal pathways, but they specifically refer to as like white matter, gray matter.
And then just the last one, I feel like I've been filtering through a lot of information regarding seed oils, particularly the non-GMO varieties, like the canola oils have been wreaking havoc on people's digestive system and overall causing tons of inflammation.
Yeah.
So I think like when dealing with seed oils for myself, like I've gone through my digestion being so poor that a lettuce would look like a lettuce before I ate it and after I ate it. And now I can digest. So, you know, certain seed oils, I recommend people do their research.
Yes. And that part, like,
It's a fine line.
we can find out any piece of information we want. It's no excuse. Now, the problem is coming across misinformation, but we have that access. So use it to your good, not to your detriment. That's an important point. Like, there are good oils like sunflower oil, avocado oil, olive oil, because that's a monounsaturated fat, again, and those are the good fats, right? That will make up your 20 to 35%. And you want 45% to 65% being a carb. You want a quality carb. You don't want these carbohydrates that have been stripped of their good nutrients. Like when you have a piece of white bread, that removes pretty much all of the B vitamins that it naturally comes with, because when you have a white bread, that means it's stripping it of its most nutritious outer layer. You have the bran, that's the outer layer, right? And then you have the endosperm, which has that's the nutrient-rich embryo. And then you have, what was the last one? It's 3 parts, though. I get them confused, but that's what you need. That's where you'll have all of your B vitamins that you're ever gonna get. But when someone, when they strip it of its nutrients, becoming white bread, then you're no longer having access to those micronutrients that you need. So that's why I think the takeaway is you want a nutrient-dense diet with your carbs, with your carbohydrates, with your proteins, and with your fats. Proteins are very important. When people think of proteins, they think of hair, skin, nails, and muscle, right? But that's a huge component of antibodies. Antibodies is what fights infections, right? So you need those. And then, well, it doesn't really fight it. You have like the macrophages, cytokine cells, all of those things, but the antibodies recognize. So say, you guys probably know, like you have a virus introduced to your body. Your body says, okay, now I know you. And then it creates these antibodies. Proteins are needed for that, right? So it's more than muscle. It's more than hair. It's for protein and for enzymes, right? I talked about those complex systems, the tasks that the body does. It cannot do that. The metabolism, that's when you take the food parts that you ingest, that's when the body converts it to usable energy so that it can work at its optimal. So you need enzymes to carry those reactions through. And that's why you need to consume quality proteins. And then you have the micronutrients. Micro because you only need them in small amounts. And as I mentioned, many of the micronutrients, which are the vitamins and minerals, they help facilitate those reactions. The main one is metabolism. Again, you eat the food, but your body needs that food so that it can convert it to energy, so that you can have your muscles movement. Energy is needed, ATP, that's what any people remember in their biology classes, ATP, right? That is one of the major products of metabolism. You need ATP for your muscle to move, for your heart to contract, for the traveling of messages, transmission of messages in your brain, that ATP. If you want to simplify it, that's what you need. But if you don't have these components, if you don't have vitamins and minerals, you can't metabolize the macronutrients. So that's why people say they usually just leave it as eat your vitamins, or take your vitamins, because it'll keep you healthy. But I think it's helpful and it makes you more intentional in the decisions you make, the nutrition decisions you make, when you know the actual reason. And I do encourage everyone, we're all smart, brilliant people. If you don't already know, get to know your body, right? You have the ability to know, you can know about the systems, your organ systems, because then that will make you more intentional in what you do, because you'll say, I want to help my body out, right? We all want to help our bodies out. And that's why you're here. You're all past the pre-contemplative stage of the trans-theoretical model of behavior change, because you're here. So that tells me that you're either preparing or you're thinking about it, right? So we just want to give our bodies everything it needs. So that's why I say we want a variety. We don't just want brown and tans on our plate, because that means we are missing out on key macronutrients, key micronutrients, right? So that's when we want some greens, green leafy vegetables. Oh, you get a lot from it, including B9, folate. That is important for red blood cell production and your genetic material. Many Americans do not get enough folate. That's one of the nutrients that we lack in. So I encourage you to eat your green leafy vegetables. They're delicious. I know, like growing up, I ate vegetables. I always ate vegetables. My parents just boiled the crap out of the vegetables. So it didn't taste that great, but you can hook a vegetable up. Put fresh herbs, fresh spices, and then you only need a dash of salt to elevate the flavor. You can roast. And a lot of I didn't talk about the different types of vitamins. You have water soluble, that's all your B and your C vitamins, and then you have your fat soluble, so that's the A, the D, the E, and the K. And you can, once you know about these things, you can kind of be strategic in how you eat them. So you want to eat like green leafy vegetable. I eat kale salads for breakfast, right? And then I have the oil-based vinaigrette to dress it, so that helps me absorb all of the fat-soluble vitamins. So once you know this, brother with a question right there. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so, but if you cook the vegetables, doesn't it take the vitamins out? Or is that not?
Right, especially, no, it's like, say you're cooking a vegetable that is rich in a water-soluble vitamin. So if you're just like steaming that, a lot of time that vitamin will like steam off. So I think a lot of the vegetables that have water-soluble vitamins, maybe you want to eat that in a stew, right? So you can still have the liquid that's going to be laden with those vitamins. So that's why you can be strategic. Like for fat-soluble vitamins, you can roast it with like olive oil, right? The olive oil, you won't get rid of your vitamins, and then it can aid in the absorption of that vitamin. Right, it doesn't have to. I mean, for water-soluble vitamins, raw may be best, but if you like cook it in, again, a soup, I think soups are great because you can throw everything in there. Legumes, so your lentils, I love a good lentil soup, right? Lentils are great. Lentils are packed with the essential amino acids that you need. So I didn't go into this with proteins, but essential amino acids are the ones that our bodies do not make. There are 8 to 10 of those. Everything else our body makes, right? But when you are looking for proteins, you want a complete protein. When they say a complete protein, they mean all of the essential amino acids. And if you're a vegetarian, right? Some foods like quinoa, I love quinoa, and I make a batch of it, throw it in everything, eat it with everything. That's a complete protein. And if you're a vegetarian, that's a source of your essential amino acids, right? It's all about being strategic. You can only be strategic when you know.
I was trying to do raw, and I got my lab work done, and I was told by my doctor that I may not digest raw vegetables well. Is that truth to that?
That is possible, right? And it depends on like what type of vegetables you were eating, and if you were getting all of the micronutrients that help in the digestion of that. So it is some truth to that. And that's why, again, I didn't mention this, but I am not a dietitian, I am not a nutritionist, but I do recommend, if you have access to one, please go see them as often as you see your primary care physician, because I think that's really primary prevention. When you go to the doctor, a lot of times that's more secondary and tertiary prevention. That's after the fact. But I think the real sauce is in getting everything right. If you can see a nutritionist, a dietitian, because they can help you make out a plan, a specific plan. I can't do that. That's not within my scope of practice. I don't want to get sued. But if you have the ability to do so, see a nutritionist, see a dietitian, because once you go to the doctor, he'll just do some blood work, check your blood pressure, right? And then if something's wrong, they'll say, oh, you need to eat better, or oh, you need to get on this medication. But you want to get to the point where you don't even need that. That's primary prevention. And I talked about that. I don't know if anybody attended my live, but that was one of the main points. In this country, they do not, and it makes sense, right? We live in a capitalist society. It's all about the money. You do not make money off of preventing illnesses. You want a large sick population. And that's another reason that I do what I do, and I try to be as healthy as I can, because my health is my weapon. When I have so many systems against me, if I'm healthy, that's one less thing I have to worry about, and I want that for you. So your health is your weapon, and do everything within your power to be as healthy as you can. You had a question there.
I'm loving this seminar, by the way. So just small things. So obviously most times the woman is the one cooking in the household. So we have to learn and try to get it right. So I guess I get lost a lot with, I feel like we're buying all the things. We're buying the green vegetables, we're buying the carrots, we're buying the lentils, we're buying all the things. But maybe we're not preparing them to get, what is needed to obtain what we need. So where do we learn that skill?
With the cooking, the preparation part.
Yes, like you said, with the, adding the oil to the kale and getting all we need from it, letting them supplement each other and those type of things. I mean, I guess at some point we're getting some of what we need because we're buying the things.
Yeah.
I don't know that we're getting the best benefit from buying the things.
And like I was saying, I mean, YouTube, you'll find a lot. And I should have brought the book here. Like when I was studying to get my certification in fitness nutrition. And I recommend, anybody can do this. I recommend you guys get a book. Like even if it's tailored and targeted to someone who wants to be a fitness nutrition specialist or group fitness specialist. You can get it. It's they don't restrict it. And you can really educate yourself, because that book told me all the things, right? You look for nutrition books, and you can go online and just look for basic nutrition books. I'm so sorry that I did not bring that book with me. It's too much. But just go to, I don't know, do people still buy books? I buy books because I need something in my hand. But just look for the basic nutrition books, and it will tell you, what you need to get started. You'll say all the things about how to strategically, cook and pair up your food. So, I'm good. I love the questions, guys. What time are we at? Oh, it's 11:45. Oh my gosh. One more question. I'm sorry. I was going to him, and then I would try and stick around and answer more.
As you said earlier, we live in a very capitalistic society,
And do.
the food definitely suffers from that type of society. So before we even get to the stage of preparing the food and stuff, where do we find actually potent food that's quality? Because I live in Brooklyn, New York. So, and I grew up in Jamaica for 17 years. I could spot bad vegetables, bad fruits from a mile away. And it's everywhere. Even the organic stuff, everywhere. Even in places that they tell you could find quality food, it's not.
Right.
And even if it is quality, the soil that it's growing on, it's not taken care of. So the soil is not even potent to grow.
Right.
So before we even get to the preparation, where do we, I would say, find potency in food that we could even, like a source?
I'm sorry to be the bearer of bad news. I'm sorry, but we're going to keep it real. And I say this for myself. I just do the best. I do the best that I can. I'm not sure about the quality food. I'll buy organic, but like I don't fully believe in that because there's a certain criteria that a farmer has to meet for it to be labeled labeled organic. So you can't even fully trust it. I just do the best that I can, right? That's all we can do because with the there's an issue with nutrient depletion in our soil, and that's everywhere, and it's touching Jamaica, it's touching everywhere. What we put up in the air, it comes right back down, right? So it's like we just got to do the best that we can with the resources that we have. It's not going to be top tier.
I have a thing for that I always say, whatever you can control, just mitigate.
Yes.
You know, because, you know, as I said, capitalistic society,
Right.
change before we get, you know,
Mm-hmm.
so whatever you can control, just try to mitigate.
That's a great message. Do the best that you can with what you have. I should probably, since I have 15 minutes, right, we want to get to the good part. Let me cruise through this. Take a picture of this, right? But the take-home message is, you see something about, see HIIT trainings, all these crazy intense trainings. I do them because I like them, but it's not needed, right? You just need to move. The way our society is set up, we spend most of it sedentary, and that's no good for us. The point of just, even if you can do 20 minutes a day, and it doesn't have to be 20 consecutive minutes. You can break that into intervals throughout the day. I want you moving. It can be as simple as walking up your stairs multiple times. It can be as simple as parking as far as you can in the parking lot from the store. That's what I do, unless it's unsafe. But any type of movement, as long as it's done safely and in a safe space, is better than nothing at all. And I also want to stress the importance, because a lot of the focus is on cardio, right? That's important, but many of us in here aren't spring chickens, myself included. As you age, strength is so important. And no one's telling you to lift 100 pounds. You can do 5 pounds, whatever, but I want you to take this home with you. This is important as you age. You want to be strong because it is our muscles that move our bones. We do not want all the work, the weight on our bones, because we lose bone mass as we age. But we can replenish that with the foods, the calcium, phosphorus, rich foods that we eat, but also by keeping our muscles strong. Learn the muscles in your body. You can do it. You have the ability to do so. Learn about the joints. It's all about the joint action. Learn that when you flex your elbow, you're working your biceps. When you extend your elbow, you're working your triceps. When you do this is called abduction. You're working your deltoids. Learn these things. When you're doing shoulder extension, you're working your latissimus dorsi. You can know these things. When you're moving, flexing, extending your knee, you're working your quadriceps. When you're doing hip extensions, you're working your gluteus maximus and your hamstrings. All these things. If you have strong legs, your knees are going to be good. I have Megan Thee Stallion knees, and do, because I work out my knees all the time. I work out those legs. So I encourage you. Some people say, oh, this is for somebody else, for some other specialist. But no, it's for you. It's your body. I need you to learn your body because you can do so. And it's just as simple as knowing that I need to move this. You don't even really need a personal instructor. You just need to know your body, and you can make the targets. You can target it yourself. Having a personal fitness instructor is a nice to have, but it's not a necessity. So I really do encourage you to learn what your joint actions, your muscles, and you can do this on your own. You don't need expensive weights, expensive exercise gear. During the pandemic, I have a gym. I love to work out at the gym, but during the pandemic, the height of the pandemic, I didn't have access to that gym. Some of the best workouts I had was out in the park all I needed was a hill. And then you can go to Five Below, right? You can get a stretchy bands for $5, stretchy bands, resistance too. That's all you need. You can work every muscle in your body. There's no excuse. You can go to YouTube. I found some kickboxing classes, anything you want to do. It's at your fingertips. Use it for your good. So any movement that you can do, it's better than nothing at all. And you start and you build upon it. So that's, and also important is flexibility. Flexibility. People, they focus on the pumping of the iron. They focus on the running of the treadmill. But as we age, there are some people at my gym, 70, 80. My favorite fitness instructor, she's approaching 70. Ripped. All of them, they do some sort of flexibility training. That's movement at your joints. You want to do some yoga. You know, again, you don't have to go to a fancy yoga studio. You can go on YouTube and do some yoga. Try and do that 2 to 3 times a week, okay? If you take nothing else from this, do some resistance. You can use your own body weight. Again, you do not need a dumbbell. You do not need a kettlebell. That's a nice to have, but that's not what you need. Walk. Again, you want to park as far as you can from your destination and just walk to it. You're getting some steps in. You're getting that good quality fitness. All right, now we get to the good part. We're going to do some goal settling. So taking in all this data, we collected some data. We saw the recommendations. We saw, hey, do I need to take in more micronutrients? Do I need to take in food that is rich in vitamins and minerals? Am I eating whole grains like a quinoa, a brown rice, farro? That tastes excellent in salads too, in the bowls. Wonderful. Am I doing that? So if you aren't doing that, that can be a part of your nutrition goal. Fitness. Am I walking enough or am I just sitting there? Can I do a little more resistance training? Should I be stretching more? That can be a part of your fitness goal. And again, if you were able to fill out some of that questionnaire, you can see certain parts where an area of attention, I like to say, and that can be incorporated into your fitness goal. But in order to reach a destination, we must know our starting point. So this is the way that we know our starting point. I want you to rate your nutrition and your fitness on a scale to 1 to 5, 1 being very poor and 5 being excellent. If somebody wants to share, they can. But rate your health. What do you think? From the information that I gave you. 10 minutes, all right. Oh, but you can answer. Go ahead, girl.
I mean, I would just say, like, for me personally, I think it's average. I mean, I do work out. I work out like 3 to 4 times a week. I don't
Wonderful.
I don't do as much Pilates and yoga as I probably need to. There's definitely room for improvement. I guess in the head, I get discouraged because I'm looking for the weight to drop. I'm looking for the numbers to do something. But somebody had to kind of come in and tell me, well, maybe you just don't have that body type. Maybe you build more muscle.
Ooh.
And this is what you're doing. So get off of the scale.
Right.
Start thinking about, like, how your body is transforming. And I'm like,
when you get your fitness book, you'll learn about that. You'll learn about the body types, right? You have endomorph, ectomorph, mesomorph, all the things. They don't talk about these
those
things.
are the things they don't talk about. That
Yeah.
mislead you when you're on your fitness and wellness journey and all those things. And you're thinking that you're doing horribly, but that might not be your body type. And here you are trying to achieve what looks like it's supposed to happen.
Right.
But that's not what's happening.
Right. We don't look to others. We can get like bits and pieces, but we look at ourselves, our situation, we adapt. Like, don't measure yourself. I always say, I'm not competing with anyone else. I'm only competing with myself of yesterday. You can look to others for examples, for guides, but you got to look at your own situation, your own data, your individual data.
About, like, the Pilates and like the yoga and stuff. I have sweat much more with Pilates and yoga than I have on any
Right.
treadmill.
Right.
And it's funny, and I'm like, okay, maybe this is what I need to do more of.
Right.
But that's the one that I dislike the most.
It's okay, do it. Do it, because I'm 40, right? I notice my body change when I focus more on resistance. And now I do Pilates and yoga. Girl is snatched, right? Right. So like you have to change as you age too. Take all these things into consideration and don't get discouraged by someone else's standards. Look at your own situation. So we got our ratings, right? Oh, go ahead, girl.
If you were to do lab work from the doctor, what would be like specific things to request or look for?
You want to look at, well, see, that's tricky, right? We can have another discussion on race-based medicine because they come up with these standards, these indicators that don't really apply to us because how they came up with it is using data from white men. A la BMI, most people know that you can't just take the BMI and run with it. It's based, like literally, it's based on white men, right? I'm not a white man, right? You're not a white man. So we have to think about these things, but you want to look at like the glucose levels. You want to look at your iron, and they can test for the different vitamins and minerals that are in your blood.
I think, I'm sorry, can I just harp on that for 1 second? Because I am in the health field, and I think it's very unfair when we do ask for lab work outside of the norms. Your insurances will not cover it. So just
That's another issue.
for them, because that is a big issue. It's like, I want things to kind of help me based on not these standard labs that you're doing.
Right.
The minute you ask for something extra, insurance is like, well, you can get them, but you're going to pay for them.
Right.
So I think that's just
That's an important point.
equity portion right there.
That's something that should be brought up, a change that needs to happen.
Just to piggyback off of what you're saying, there are independent labs that you can pay like $25.
Thank you,
I don't know
sister.
where your blood goes after that.
That's an important point. Thanks for that caveat, but it is a resource out there. How many more minutes we got? Oh, I don't even know what time it is. All right, so we're good. Oh, sorry, guys. You guys had your hand up for the long.
True, and I did the research on it too. Is when you get blood work done, you need to be mindful exactly what tests that you're getting done. And guess what? I found out too. Also, they take extra blood, but they don't. You need to get consent for that. And they do the experiment on the blood. Because what happened was I worked at Temple, and then I had to get 3 tests for one for the kidney, for the lungs, and something else. And the next thing you know, and I'm like, that's the lab, that's for blood for this one. I said, what's the fourth one? They said, oh, in case you make a mistake in the bus. But you know how much blood that you need to actually run the test? You would need like this much.
Right.
And then run the drink, and then the extra 2, like you said, you don't know where it's going. And due to the fact that we had a conference in the upper room where they were talking about black people's genetics is so unique. And especially the stem cells,
Yeah.
to reproduce, to make new organs, things they don't want to tell you with cancer and all this stuff is easy through herbs and everything. And the same thing even with oils. The oils, what they consider carcinogens, certain oils when you run at a certain heat, it breaks down and it actually can damage the food in the body. The best oils, for what I heard, was actually grapeseed oil and coconut oil. They can burn at a higher level.
Yeah.
It's safe to put onto your food. Olive oil is good for like putting on your lettuce,
Yeah,
different stuff like that. But there's a lot that you have to learn because the United States is the only place in the world they can tell you one thing about the food and they lie and they're not even hold responsible.
Lie real
That's why
bad.
we sue them so much, it's crazy. I go to stores just pointing out different things through the market, like through cereal. All General Mills cereals got pink center in it. So they pulled it off the shelf. The guy went in the store, looked at it. His thing was, well, FDA ain't approved it. We good. Keep selling. I said, but what about the people and the customers?
TVs and all those things that they will not sell in California and foods that are on our shelves in every
Right.
state except for California.
So do your research. You have your phones, right? You have access. Do research. Just be more mindful, more intentional in what you put in your body, what you expose in your mind. And I know we don't have that much time, but this is where we'll start. And you can think about this, right? And I will give you my email address if you have any questions. But you want to come up with two outcome-centered goals. One for your fitness, one for your nutrition, right? So it could be, I'll share my personal story. For my fitness, last year I was like, I'm doing a lot of cardio. I'm doing a lot of resistance training, but I need to do more yoga. And it took me a long time. And again, I've been consistently working out for almost 20 years, but for some reason I couldn't get going with that. So then I thought to myself, what are the barriers to preventing me from reaching this goal? So you got to think about that too. I talk about in the next slide social capital and really thinking about those things that will help you in your goal, and also think about those areas that may hamper what you do. That's important to identify these things. You want to lean into those things, those facilitators of you reaching your goal, and you want to kind of find ways to work around those things, which like for me it was, I work out 5 days a week. I don't want to do an extra day for yoga. But then I found like, hey, there's a place I can go, and I was able to do that. And so now I've been doing it for a year. And for nutrition, I wanted to eat more whole grains. I still struggle with this. I don't think I eat enough, right? So I said, make yourself a batch, steam yourself, just throw it in a pot. Steam yourself a batch of quinoa. And again, I can eat it with so many things. I throw it on my salad. It's delicious. I make a wonderful kale salad. I can share with you the recipe if you want. But we do that. So you just got to think, what can I do? We all have attributes that will help us. We all have resources that will help us now identify it and lean into those things. Lean into those people who will support you. And that's what we'll do after we identify our outcome goal. And then your process. Like, how would I do that? And it's going back to my eating more whole grains, right? The process was make sure you make your quinoa on Monday or Tuesday, right? And that was getting me to my outcome goal of consuming more whole grains into my diet. So the process is so important because those are the steps that will get you to the outcome, right? And you can celebrate every step that you take, right? And it's not a straight line. I don't want anyone to get discouraged. You may have a day where you don't reach a certain thing, or you may fall off, as most folks would say. You still have the next second after you fall off. You still have the next day. So please do not, it's a process, it's a step. So celebrate all of your steps, your process. And it's very important to have these process-centered goals, because that is what's going to get you to the outcome, and that's where you can see how you are progressing, and you can celebrate that, and that's going to keep you going. And we already talked about what SMART means. And again, I said like social capital, that's important to recognize those people and those attributes in your life that will support any access to resources that you have that will support you obtaining this goal. And the areas of attention, again, that can also be people in your life. And I say, because some people say when you have, I don't want to say negative influences, you should remove yourself from them. But then who will be their example, right? But maybe you just bring in more people that are like-minded and that will help you on your goals. So that's what you want to do. Like, there are so many groups, social media, there are so many groups. They have Black Girls Run, Black Girls Social Group. They also have Black Men Run. Wonderful space. So tap into these groups of like-minded people that will hold you accountable. Get yourself accountability buddy. That's what I call it. Accountability partner, I call it accountability buddy. Not someone who will like make you feel bad for not completing a goal, but somebody that will, give you a nudge and like provide you with some tips. It's important to find these people in your space. Amplify your social capital and identify feasible solutions for your areas of attention. I don't think we have like more time for a time to share and Q. I don't even know if anybody wrote down their nutrition and fitness goals. Anybody wrote it down? Anybody want to share? Go ahead, my brother.
So I didn't write it down, but I got it up here.
That's fine.
One thing that I feel like we didn't talk much about that for me, I want to be better at for myself. I'm good at it for other people. I'm not good at it for myself. But that's also including, like you talked about the partnership, true partnership. And you talked about it starting with your relationship with the body.
Yes,
but
sir.
Your relationship with the body also is about your relationship with your mind.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And
Facts.
so I'm a trainer.
Okay.